This campaign is about making sure that everyone has a voice. We have been able to register 1.8 million people this election cycle, which is a tremendous amount of folks. I think the Republicans are very concerned with what they're seeing. I think they're seeing more energy and excitement in all of these states across the country, community after community. And I think that they know that that energy and excitement is for the Democrats and for Senator Obama.
But the Republican premise is the larger the vote, the worse off they are. The narrower the vote, the better off they are. So an attempt has been made to suggest that there's some major problem afoot here with illegal voting, and by constantly arguing voter fraud, constantly conjuring up images of illegal voting, they hope to cast a pall over the entire election. But after all this time, with the investment of all this resources and the ceaseless propagandizing on the subject, they can never ever produce evidence of illegal voting. Caging is an attempt to identify a body of voters systematically on some basis and then to challenge them essentially en masse as a group as somehow being illegal voters.
In Ohio, the Republicans filed a challenge of nearly 200,000 voters in that state. Generally, it's for basic technicality things. Somebody screwed up writing their address or misspelled their name or something like that. Now, they've sued the state on this, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court actually ruled against them and said, no, these people shouldn't be able to be challenged or tossed or anything else. And the interesting thing about this is that Joe the plumber is actually one of the people who potentially could have been tossed. When Joe wrote his name down, he had a U that he slightly closed, so it came up on his registration card as an O. Although the Republicans might not want to let Joe vote, the Democrats are out here fighting for him to make sure he can cast his ballot no matter which way he goes.
Very typically in this cycle, the misinformation might include telling people that the day of the election has changed.
In Virginia today, we saw flyers being handed out saying that the election is going to be on the 5th instead of the 4th, and that people can go on the 5th and vote either day because the lines will be long. Obviously, that's not true.
Colorado and Virginia, Republican clerks have been disenfranchising students by saying that they are going to lose certain rights that students have in terms of financial aid and health care and all these other things to try and scare them from registering to vote. In Colorado, the situation has gotten so bad that they have actually mandated that a monitor sits in the clerk's office to ensure that he doesn't disenfranchise any more voters than he already has.
The good news is that this misinformation can be corrected, and it has been corrected. So I think we're going to see a healthy and lawful student vote, and all these misinformation campaigns will have come to naught. Intimidation clearly is a tactic accomplished a lot of different ways.
In Ohio, the Republican Party had their attorneys out harassing our voters by taking pictures of their license plates while people were trying to vote, just intimidating people in that fashion. Eventually the cops came and made them leave.
The whole purpose of this kind of intimidation strategy is to have people think twice about voting because they think somehow, quote, voting will get you into trouble. It's an insidious tactic. It's profoundly anti-democratic.
If someone sees something that doesn't seem right to them, that just doesn't seem like it makes sense, or they have a question about it, make sure to ask the question, make sure to double check, and don't be afraid to speak out, because if you speak out, then somebody else maybe who didn't will get the right information and will be able to make sure that more people are able to vote.
I think that we're seeing in this election cycle, and it's very reassuring, that voters know that there are serious issues before the country, and in those circumstances, these sorts of vicious attacks tend not to hit their target. They tend to fall flat.
We have a lot of work to do. We have to work like our future depends on it in this last week, because it does depend on it this week. In 1 week, we can choose hope over fear and unity over division, the promise of change over the power of the status quo. In 1 week, we can come together as one nation and one people and once more choose our better history. That's what's at stake. That's what we're fighting for. I need you this last week.